Hello, welcome. This is Dr. Red Frizzle here, and this is going to be the second video in a series of videos relating to the structure of cells and for your Unit 2 AQA Biology syllabus. Hope you find this video helpful. This is going to be about the structure of a plant cell in particular. So my last video I went into the structure of an animal cell, so I advise you watch that first if you haven't already seen it. I'm going to start drawing you a plant cell. Now you'll notice straight away with my drawing that it's quite a rigid sort of square structure, and this is to provide support and strength to the plant cell, because ultimately these plant cells are what has to sort of support the whole stem of the plant. So it's the equivalent of our bones. That's why we don't need to have this sort of double membrane that I'm drawing around the outside of our cells. We don't need that because we've already got our skeleton, as I just mentioned, which provides our support for our bodies. So our cells can afford to be that sort of almost fried egg type shape. Okay, so that's the sort of rigidness of the plant cell, which is created by this outer layer known as the cell wall, which obviously provides protection. Inside that there's various molecules embedded like cellulose and stuff, but I've already sort of done a few A-level videos related to that, so if you want to watch those then feel free. This inner membrane is known as the cell membrane, which is the same name as the outer membrane of the animal cell. And inside here we have something known as the vacuole that takes up quite a lot of the space. So I'll just draw up there. And that's sort of like a gel-like substance again, where various sort of reactions take place, and it's the location of the cell sap, which is the liquid in plant stems. Okay, so that's the vacuole. Obviously, again, it's going to have the nucleus, because the nucleus is what controls genetic information, and what actually encapsulates genetic information. Now, in my next couple of videos, I'll be looking at bacteria cells and stuff like that, and what you'll notice about those, the main difference is that they don't actually have these membrane-bound organelles, which are the structures in the cells that all have membranes around. So like this nucleus, as you can see here, the genetic information is in the middle and it's encapsulated by that like ring. Bacteria and stuff don't have that, so this is a plant cell. I'll just write up the title. Okay, so this is the plant cell, vacuole, nucleus. We still have the cytoplasm in here, as you'd expect, which is where most of the chemical reactions take place. Again, we have a space between the cell wall and cell membrane, which is sort of almost quite similar to the animal cell nuclear envelope, which is the sort of double membrane that surrounds the nucleus, which is actually the same in plant cells, but that's sort of to give you an idea of what it's like. Okay, so we have the nucleus, vacuole. We also have something called a chloroplast that's quite important. Now this chloroplast is perhaps the most important organelle of a plant, in my opinion. And the reason for that is that because the site of photosynthesis. Now I've all probably heard that before, and we all dread it because we all dread learning about this chemical equation in class. But actually photosynthesis is a very useful process because it enables the sort of products of photosynthesis are actually used as the reactants for respiration. Which enables animals to live, which enables animals to produce their energy that they need for movement and for muscle cells, etc. So it's a very important process. So I'll write under there site of photosynthesis. Now we might as well go through that now we've started. So what, first of all, whenever I think about photosynthesis, I always think about what does a plant actually need. So it needs water, so write H2O, which is the chemical symbol for water. You could just write water, it doesn't really matter. And in addition to that, plants also need carbon dioxide from the air, the CO2. And then sunlight enables a pigment called chlorophyll in here to create the products over here, which are known as oxygen, as we all know, O2, and glucose, which we probably don't all know the chemical formula for glucose, but I do. So C6H12O6. Right, okay, so obviously we should really balance this equation. I always think of this as sort of the devil's equation because it's got just sixes everywhere, which is the devil's number. Okay, so that's So that's the balanced equation for photosynthesis. 6 waters and 6 carbon dioxides are going to create 6 oxygens and 1 molecule of glucose, which is C6H12O6. You might think that's quite a sort of complex formula for glucose, but once you know it, it's very easy to apply to various other sugars. I may go into that now because we've mostly discussed the important aspects of a plant cell. So let's go into that in a sort of slight bit more detail, and let's have a look at how this formula can be manipulated. So we could have C5, C5H10O5. Now that follows the same pattern because if we have a look at it, C6, use double that to get the number of hydrogens, and then keep it the same for that. So it's C5H10O5, and straight away we have our pentose sugar. So this is glucose, which is a type of hexose sugar, which means it's got 6 carbons. And this is a pentose because it's got 5. Pent means 5. Pentathlon, for example, 5 events in the Olympics. And the same sort of idea again. You can have C4H8, and that would be a 4 carbon sugar. Okay, so you sort of get the idea of that. The other thing to know about plant cells is that they have similar things to animal cells in the sense that they need ribosomes because they need to make their own proteins. So ribosomes. And there are certain plant cells that do actually need to respire. There's a common misconception with plants that they actually don't need to respire. So you're probably thinking, oh well, what on earth is he doing? He obviously doesn't know his stuff because he's drawing a mitochondria in a plant cell. But actually, plants do respire. Sorry, I'm just concentrating on the spelling of mitochondria because it's quite complicated. Okay, so so I was saying actually plants do respire because during the night time when they don't have enough light to create their own like glucose, which is respired for their energy, when they don't have this energy that they're generating from the sun, when it's not there, they can't photosynthesize, so their rate of respiration actually increases above that of photosynthesis, so they're actually respiring more than they are photosynthesizing, which we don't think of plants doing, so they're actually producing more carbon dioxide than they're actually getting rid of. So we always think of plants as eco-friendly, but during the night time, this isn't always the case. During the daytime, they still respire because they need the energy for various active processes with their cells, but the actual rate of photosynthesis exceeds that of the rate of respiration, which is why we often forget that plants actually do respire, and yet they respire like any other type of cell. So I hope you found this video useful. That should cover everything you need to know for the AQA syllabus Unit 2 of plant cell biology. In my next video I'll be focusing on various other types of cells that are a bit more sort of individual, like yeast cells and bacterial cells. So I'll see you then. Goodbye.